We're back in the shop. Made good progress so far on the seat mounting and fuel tank mounting capabilities that we need to have on the little subframe that I'm building here. But now we need to actually get so that we can bolt things on here. So for those that are new to the channel, this is we call it a seat rail or seat mounting and tank mounting for our Nemesis R1, which is a single-seater car for the road. And we're going to continue on where we left off on the last video of fabricating our seat mounts and our tank mounts and see if we can get that going. So first thing that we're going to be doing is making sure that we've got spots here for the tank to be able to mount on. Now typically we'll likely put some kind of foam or cloth or some kind of in between the metal of the tank and the frame just for any kind of friction and rubbing in there. But we do need to be able to get some bolt mounts in here so that we can hold it securely. So we're going to be welding in some nuts into the frame here, and then on our cross pieces here we'll be creating a couple of 4 studs pointing up for the seat rails to be able to secure against. I still need to figure out what I'm going to do on the side here for being able to build a mount there as well. So we'll need to make sure that we get those tabs working too. So to start off with, we will go ahead and build these, basically putting nuts into the frames. We're going to use a little trick that I've used before, which is basically welding a washer to the nut and then being able to turn the nut upside down so the washers face up. You can weld it straight in, nut always stays on the bottom, and you're good to go. So we'll get started on that. While we're waiting for those washers and nuts to cool, because they're a little hot to the touch at the moment, so once those are cooled down we'll be able to grind them up and put them in. So while we're waiting for that, we'll drill out these holes, and I'll also cut the heads off of a couple of the different bolts so that we can use those as studs, and then I'll be able to finish up all the finish welding with each of those as well. Now we have everything installed, all the studs are done, we've got all of our holes at the back with the nuts welded into the frame. Just ran a tap through them to get out any of the gunk that's back in there. Frame rails, the seat frame rails were installed onto the studs that were coming up, and then we're able to slide the seat back down and be able to fasten the other different points on there. So that installation procedure looks like it's going to work, thank goodness. And we've got everything all set up for the seat and the mounts. I do need to make a couple of tabs on the back for the gas tank back there. So I'll make a couple of those to be able to, again, have some threaded nuts into some steel, and then we'll be able to weld it into the chassis. And finally, after hours and hours of fiddling around, we're ready to weld it down into the bottom here. I cut out the straps that were holding everything together. Turns out those straps actually were holding things in at about 1/8 of an inch across the width of the bottom there, so I've got a bit of a gap I have to weld on the sidebar that I went across. And this firewall, oh my god, this firewall has caused me so much grief today. First, just trying to make sure that it fits in there, because we've got now the new welds and stuff at the bottom. But then when I fastened the tank in, on the different connectors here, I didn't take into account the thickness of the firewall and the bulge on the back of the tank. So I had to hole out a few different things here, and then I also had to go ahead and thread in some connectors and really make all the little cuts and craziness around to be able to get to the bottom of making everything fit before I welded it all in. But as you can see, I've got the tabs there on the back as well for the tank to screw into, so those should all bolt into place. And now it's just a matter of welding this in. I'm just propping up some wood on the bottom here just to hold everything on the bottom plane of the car. I'll tack everything in, and then I can pull the wood away. And I should be ready to roll. I might do another side cross piece just going across there just for some extra support. But this is a good start. So we'll get to welding this in.
A few moments later.
Well, we've come to the end of another sweaty day. Managed to get everything finished for being able to get the gas tank mounted, seat mounted, and everything in there. Had the fun of a hot amber from the welder jump into my shoe, so that was feeling good as well. But gonna go home, get cleaned up, but the car's in good shape to be able to tomorrow to hopefully drop the engine into it and see how I'm gonna mount up the intercooler. So everything is all buttoned up, all welded in here. I'll have to weld the bottom side of it when I get the car up into the air. But the tank's installed, secured in. It's got room with the firewall there now. This whole tab thing and everything will be going away as I put in the actual fuel filler that I'll be using across there. But yeah, tank secure, studs all fit for the seat, so the seat should fit in there just fine. Everything's all good to go for the day. Like I said, I'll probably weld in just a couple more bars, one here and one here as well across, just so that I've got a little bit of extra support. So it's welded in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spots, holding my butt up off the ground. But overall, yeah, so we're looking pretty good for getting the main things that I wanted to get done. So the bonus is going to be seeing if I can get that engine in there tomorrow and seeing how in the world I'm going to be able to get the intercooler to fit, and whether or not there's even space and clearance for the runners on the intake manifold. So that will be for the next episode. We'll see how that all works out. So we'll see you then.